Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into a fascinating biological paradox from early Cretaceous Australia. We are looking at a creature that pretty much defies everything we thought we knew about dinosaur anatomy and evolution.
So, I want you to start by picturing this: an armored tank that is literally built to sprint. When we normally think of armored dinosaurs, specifically the ankylosaurs, we picture these massive, slow, lumbering beasts, right? They were heavily weighed down by their own bony plating, completely built for defense, not speed. But what if there was an exception to that rule? What if nature actually engineered a lightweight, sprinting tank?
Meet Minmi paravertebra. This little Gondwanan dinosaur breaks basically every rule of what an armored dinosaur is supposed to be. It lived roughly 120 to 112 million years ago in the Aptian age of the early Cretaceous period. But as we're going to see, the story of Minmi isn't just about its bizarre anatomy. It's also about a massive scientific mix-up that literally rewrote the history books.
Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll meet Minmi the ankylosaur. Second, built for speed and armor. Third, a prehistoric diet. Fourth, discovery and mistaken identity. And finally, the evolutionary mystery.
All right, Section 1, meet Minmi the ankylosaur.
If we travel back over 112 million years to the ancient lagoon deposits of what is now Queensland, Australia, the very first thing that jumps out about our subject is its weight. Just 300 kilograms. For an ankylosaurian dinosaur, that is incredibly small. To put that into perspective, Minmi was only about 3 meters long, so just under 10 feet. While its cousins up in the northern hemisphere were bulking up into these multi-ton juggernauts, Minmi stayed remarkably compact. Imagine a fully armored herbivore, but scaled right down to the size of a modern-day cow or large pig.
And here's a fun fact for you. For decades, Minmi actually held the world record for the absolute shortest dinosaur name. It was named after Minmi Crossing, which is the area in Australia where it was discovered. The word Minmi itself has a couple of really fascinating potential origins. It likely refers to a large lily in the local Aboriginal language, but it might also come from min min, which is a type of ghostly will-o'-the-wisp light people see out in the Australian outback. Anyway, it held on to that shortest name record from 1980 all the way until 2015 when paleontologists named a weird little winged dinosaur from China with just 2 letters, Yi.
Moving right along to Section 2, built for speed and armor.
Let's dig into the physical traits that make Minmi such a spectacular biological paradox. The crucial difference here lies in its legs. Traditional ankylosaurs had these short, stubby legs because they were built to just hunker down and stand their ground when threatened. But Minmi possessed unusually long limbs for its body type. So why would a walking tank need long, sprint-ready legs? Well, paleontologists believe that because Minmi was so small, a big predator could easily just flip the little guy right over onto its back, exposing its soft, unarmored belly. Game over. So to survive, Minmi likely used those long legs to bolt quickly into dense brush and undergrowth to seek cover before a predator could even reach it. It is a completely different survival strategy.
But honestly, the legs aren't even the weirdest part. Let's talk about its namesake feature, the paravertebra. These are horizontally oriented plates of bone, or ossified tendons, running parallel, right along the sides of its vertebra. When paleontologist Ralph Molnar named the dinosaur back in 1980, he pointed out just how unusual these structures were. He noted they didn't really resemble anything seen in other ornithischian dinosaurs. Actually, they looked a lot more like the tendon structures you'd find in modern crocodiles. It is a super specific, strange anatomical quirk that makes Minmi stand completely out from the crowd.
Okay, Section 3, a prehistoric diet.
So we've covered the armor and the speed, but what was fueling this nimble little tank? Usually, figuring out what a dinosaur ate involves a lot of guesswork based on tooth wear. But with Minmi, we got incredibly lucky. Scientists actually discovered fossilized gut contents. That is an exceptionally rare find in paleontology. A study published in the year 2000 analyzed this material and definitively proved that Minmi was a low browser and grazer. Its diet was packed with seeds, fruit, flowering plants, and ferns that grew close to the ground. So you can easily picture Minmi trotting through the early Cretaceous underbrush, selectively feeding on energy-dense fruits and seeds just to power those sprinting legs.
Which brings us to Section 4, discovery and mistaken identity.
Now we are pivoting from ancient biology to uncover some genuine modern-day scientific drama. Let's walk through this timeline together because the plot twist here is just wild. In 1964, Dr. Alan Bartholomew discovers the first partial skeleton in a chalkstone nodule in Queensland. In 1980, Ralph Molnar officially names it Minmi paravertebrae. Fast forward to 1989, and boom, an astonishingly complete skeleton is discovered, complete with a skull and articulated body armor. The scientific community is absolutely thrilled, and they assume this beautiful new skeleton is a species of Minmi. For the next 26 years, every single book, museum display, and documentary uses this 1989 skeleton to show the world what Minmi looked like. But then, in 2015, a massive scientific review drops a total bombshell. That beautiful 1989 skeleton wasn't Minmi at all. It was a completely different dinosaur, which they ended up naming Kunbarasaurus.
Think about what that means. Because of this massive 2015 reclassification, almost all popular illustrations, toys, and books depicting Minmi over that entire 26-year stretch were literally illustrating Kunbarasaurus. The true Minmi, which is based only on that original partial skeleton from 1964, remains much more mysterious. It is a perfect example of how science is constantly self-correcting, even when it means tearing up decades of textbooks.
And finally, Section 5, the evolutionary mystery.
So what happens to Minmi after its most famous skeleton gets taken away? Well, it goes on a very chaotic taxonomic journey. Originally, it was comfortably placed as a basal ankylosaurid, but during that 2015 review, scientists looked at the original 1964 skeleton and almost erased Minmi from existence entirely. They argued those unique paravertebrae weren't actually unique enough, suggesting Minmi should be a nomen dubium, which just means a doubtful name lacking diagnostic features. It was on the brink of being crossed out of the history books. Fortunately, later studies, including a major one in 2021, fought back. They identified enough distinct traits to save Minmi and lock it in as a valid unique taxon separate from its relatives.
But just because a dinosaur is valid doesn't mean we actually know where to put it. The recent scientific whiplash has been intense. In 2011, it was considered a basal ankylosaurid. Come 2023, an analysis threw it completely outside Ankylosauria and Stegosauria, just calling it a uropodont. By 2024, it was back to being an ankylosaurian, but of an uncertain family. And incredibly, a phylogenetic analysis slated for 2026 actually recovers Minmi as a member of Parankylosauria, a newly recognized distinct group of armored dinosaurs specific to the southern hemisphere. The science here is moving incredibly fast.
So we end on this big, profound question. Where does Minmi truly belong? Is it a founding member of this new Parankylosauria family? Is it just a sprinting, fruit-eating outlier at the very dawn of armored dinosaur evolution? The mystery of Minmi paravertebra brilliantly illustrates just how much we still have to learn about the dinosaurs of the southern hemisphere. Literally every new bone scraped out of the Australian outback has the potential to rewrite the evolutionary tree all over again. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, stay curious.